Okay, what's going on, everyone? I'll give it a few moments here for people to load into the stream. What's up, Mastermind? What's up, TK? What's up, Rudel Trade? Bag Zones in the house. Got people flooding into the stream from the socials. A lot of people from X. Also streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. I'm trying out that platform Kick, see how that goes. But good to see everyone, seeing a lot of familiar names. Hope everyone's having a good week so far. We got the big boy companies reporting today and tomorrow. Specifically, let me see if it loaded here. We got Meta reporting, and we got Microsoft reporting. So those are the two ones I'm going to cover mainly, but we'll definitely hop around and look at some of the other ones, because I know there's quite a few other big companies reporting. Let me move this over here to the side real quick. We'll go back to the sticks here. So Meta reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Just the tip on Discord. Let's go. Let's go. And Microsoft reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. So we get both these at the same time. All right, let me go back to the sticks here. See if we're getting any volatility. Just the tip on Discord. You got Lotto's riding on me, huh? Google is also reporting. That's another big one for today. So we'll probably flip back and forth between Meta, Microsoft, and Google. Tomorrow, we got another big list of big companies. Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Reddit, MicroStrategy, Net, which is Cloudflare, Rocket companies. They're in the lending space. Big earnings week. Rudel Trade asks, did they cut rates? Yes, rates were cut by 0.25. Okay, it's 4:02 p.m. We should get this data in just a few minutes. I got 15-minute charts pulled up right now with the RSI and the volume profile. If anyone's curious of these indicators that I've been using. Also, the EMAs I like using are the 9 and the 21. I do like the 200 SMA on the daily. That's a good indicator to look at. Everyone's coming into the stream. Ninja, what's going on? Nikki's in the house. I think I said hi to TK already. What's up, TK? Elton's here. Okay, Microsoft. I don't think the data's out yet, but there's some buying going on. Unless they, yeah, I think this is just pre-earnings kind of jitters here. I think I'm going to go 5-minute chart on these. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, Microsoft getting a bearish move. Kind of flickering all over the place, though, so we don't really know if this is the real move or not. You might want to give it a minute, especially if you're trying to trade these in after hours with limit orders, you know, trade the shares. I want to wait for it to pick a direction before you decide what you want to do. Not financial advice, just my opinion, of course. All of this is for education and entertainment purposes, if you will. But good to see everyone. Almost 350 people here now. Bunch of people in the Discord. Nice little group here hanging out. Regular session's over. Microsoft, more selling coming in on Microsoft. Yeah, so they're down. This is a 4% move. See if this holds up or not. I'm assuming the data's out. Maybe it got released a few minutes early. We'll check Microsoft first. I'll leave Meta on the left. Meta's kind of rallied into close a little bit, but now it's just kind of flat. So obviously don't have Meta's information. Looks like Microsoft's data's got to be out. And investors are not taking it positively. Microsoft is down 25 points right now. Let's see if it, very interesting with Microsoft being down. Triple Q is not reflecting that same price action. Neither is SPY. I want to switch over, since we don't have Meta's data yet and we don't have a reaction from Meta. I just want to check Google. Are they getting a positive reaction or what? Oh yeah, look at that. Google just flew. Google's up almost $20 a share. So kind of counteracting what Microsoft's doing right now. Let me get the data on Microsoft. Then we're going to go to Meta. I think those are the three I'm mainly going to cover. Google, Microsoft, and Meta. We'll get EPS, we'll get revenue, any guidance, any other line items like net income. Especially with Microsoft, we want to know what the cloud revenue is. That's very important for them. Also personal computing revenue for Microsoft. So let's take a look. All right, so Microsoft getting a negative reaction, Google getting a positive reaction. I got some data on Microsoft. They're down 4.5% right now. Revenue came in at 77.7 billion. The estimate was 75.3 billion, so they did beat revenue. EPS, the estimate was let me see. I'm not going to talk about adjusted EPS, but right now, but EPS came in at 3.72 versus 3.67 estimate. So it looks like they did beat EPS. The adjusted EPS was 4.13. Net income for Microsoft, 27.7 billion. Cloud revenue, which is what investors wanted to know, 49.1 billion. Almost thinking that came in low, but we'll look again. Personal computing revenue, they reported 13.8 billion. So it looks like they double beat. Let me post their EPS and revenue on the bottom of my screen. We've got almost 400 people tuning in now. So let me get some data up so everyone can just quickly see whether they beat or not. So Microsoft did double beat. However, they're getting a negative reaction. Year over year and quarter over quarter numbers look good too. It's we know what that means if they're red with every, they beat earning, they beat EPS, they beat revenue. Quarter over quarter and year over year numbers are green across the board. So what's that tell you? They probably adjusted the guidance downwards, probably for the remainder of this year, and then possibly 2026 Q1 maybe. We'll see. I'm gonna keep digging into this. I want to get some highlights for everyone. Also, Microsoft returned 10.7 billion to shareholders via dividends and buybacks. The CEO says our planet scale cloud and AI factory is driving real world impact. Okay, all fine and dandy, but it's investors aren't liking something. Let me look at some other data here, see if we can figure this out. Operating income was 38 billion. That was up 24% year over year, basically. And let's see here. Microsoft Cloud revenue of 49.1 billion. That was up 26%. Commercial remaining performance obligation increased 51% to 392 billion. A little bit of commentary here from the CEO, Satya Nadella. Our planet scale cloud and AI factory, together with co-pilots across high value domains, is driving broad diffusion and real world impact. It's why we continue to increase our investments in AI across both capital and talent to meet the massive opportunity ahead. The CFO, her name's Amy Hood. We delivered a strong start to the fiscal year, exceeding expectations across revenue, operating income, and earnings per share. Continued strength in the Microsoft Cloud reflects the growing customer demand for our differentiated platform. All right, let's see here. I mean, things look positive on Microsoft, but it's selling. It's selling off a little bit. It's down 3%. And keep in mind, this is a $500 stock, so ended the regular session at $5.43 a share to the penny, is what TradingView says. So it's down about $17 a share right now. I suppose it's not that big of a hit. Take a look at a few other things here. Okay, EPS, yeah, and I normally don't go by adjusted EPS. The adjusted EPS was over $4, but they're without the adjustments, it's 3.72. So they didn't really beat EPS by much. And actually, sales, they didn't really beat that by a lot either. I mean, I suppose they beat it by like 2 billion, but the expectation was 75 billion. So nonetheless, they got a double beat. I'm just trying to look for anything negative to explain why it's selling off here. I'm going to jump over to Google just real quick, and then we'll look at we'll go back to Microsoft here in a minute, and then we still got to check out Meta, specifically Meta. That was on the title of the stream, so I want to make sure I definitely hit Meta. But let me just look at Google just real quick since I got it on my screen. And also, we'll figure out how to get to their earnings web calls. We'll figure out what time their earnings web calls is happening. I'll get those links for everybody. Hopefully it'll save y'all some time trying to track it down and all that. But just a quick peek at Google. They also had a double beat. They crushed EPS. The forecast EPS was 2.27. They reported 2.87. They beat EPS by 26%. That's a big beat for this stock. Year over year, quarter over quarter numbers green across the board. So investors are liking that. I wonder if they increased guidance as well. They did report stronger than expected Q3 earnings. The AI revolution is on fire. Google's pulling back a little bit. They hit a high here in post market of 295.70 a share. Now they're trading just below 284. So they are retracing a little bit. Ro Exotic, how you doing? It's good to see you. Shout out to my buddy Ro. Very nice to see you, my friend. Let me look at also for Google, their operating margin was 31%. That's really good. They did reiterate the dividend of 0.21, 21 cents a share. I know it's not a lot, but it's something. Google Cloud revenue of 15 billion. Google advertising revenue of 74 billion. This information is courtesy of Wolf Financial. Shout out to Wolf. Google search revenue 56 billion. Net income almost 35 billion. So very strong, profitable company. Google. Revenue came in at 102 billion. The estimate was only 99.8 billion, so they beat revenue. I'm going to get a few other things here. Let me post Google's EPS and revenue in the comments. There we go. I'll put that right there for everybody. Rose says, good, nice to see you. Glad getting through the FOMC and earnings. Yeah, IB was a bit high. I was actually day trading with the lifetime members in the Discord around 1 o'clock Eastern today. We had four, it was a very successful scalping session too, but 4 decent trades. We were kind of trading a little bit of the volatility leading up to the FOMC data, which was released at 2 p.m. And then, of course, Powell did his press conference at 2:30. So we did day traded a little bit today. But yeah, big earnings week with some big companies, and couple that with FOMC. Of course, the Feds dropped the rate by 0.25. Powell was kind of blowing a little bit of smoke on the possible December rate cut. I still think we get the December rate cut. All in all, I think I think a lot of it was baked in, all in all. And then I also noticed a news article why we saw SPY kind of pull back a little bit when Powell was talking. And it's simply because he was casting doubt on the December rate cut. And he warned of a divided Fed. That news broke right when he was talking, right after he was kind of mentioning those comments. It should be on most of people's news feeds by now. But that's basically why we saw a little bit of selling on SPY and the triple Qs. You can see the down move here where it flushed down. I think it was an overreaction. Okay, so Powell casts a little bit of doubt on the December rate cut. Well, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, okay? So I think that negative reaction was just kind of blown out of proportion a bit. And obviously, SPY and triple Q ended up retracing all of that selling going into the close. So it ended up just being a knee-jerk reaction and retraced back up. So I personally still think they do the December rate cut. Matter of fact, we can pull up see if the percentages changed on the Fed Watch tool. I'll share this link with everyone as well. If you're ever curious of what the probabilities are of the rate cuts, this tool right here, you can look this up at any time. I'll put this in the comments on YouTube, and then I'll put it in the comments in the Discord as well in case anyone wants to bookmark this on their toolbar. Before Powell started talking, I checked it earlier this morning, the December Fed meeting had, I believe it was an 85% chance of rate cut. And look what it's at now. It dropped to 65%. So yeah, you know, Powell was casting doubt on that rate cut, and the percentage from the Fed Watch tool definitely got affected. I think it goes back up a little bit, assuming the government reopens and we can start getting this normal economic data that we're used to getting every week. A lot of that data has been withheld because the government shut down. I know they did release CPI inflation data last week. I guess they had to do it for something regarding Social Security purposes, is why they had to get that data out. But a lot of the other data has been postponed, to my understanding. PPI, initial jobless claims, a lot of labor market data hasn't been released because of the government shutdown. So if we get the government back open and start getting more of this data, economic data in on a weekly basis, and we get some positive data, I definitely think the December rate cut is going to go down. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And that's the kind of what Powell during his press conference was hinting at, is casting doubt on the possible December rate cut because of the divided government. You can see it right here on the, let me go here on SPY. Divided Fed, basically, is what he was saying. Let me go to Meta. Meta is dumping off right now. They were trading at $651. They closed the regular session at 751.67, basically flat on the day. They're down 6.5% right now, a little more than that. They're down $50 a share. And if you go over to, let me go back to this other here, because I got Google over here. Google's so far the only one with a positive reaction out of the big three I was looking at. So Microsoft took a little bit of a hit. Microsoft is down 3%. I'll put Microsoft's EPS and revenue back on the screen for a moment so everyone can see that. And they're down 3%. So they're down a little under $17 a share. Trying to bottom out. They came down to the low fives, 513 share around there. Got some good wicks on the bottom here showing some dip buyers. Working on a green 5-minute candle right now. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom for the bulls here. This may be looked at as a discount on the stock. We were going over a lot of the Microsoft's earnings data. A lot of it was positive. A lot of it was green across the board. Very, very profitable company. I think this is, I mean, let's be honest. Ever since we had that 20% market correction that ended around beginning of April, and then everything rallied coming out of that correction. I mean, haven't we been in an ultimate dip buy environment? I mean, I know there's tons of people in our Discord that have just been buying the dips on blue chippies for a while now and making a boatload of cash, making a boatload of money, just buying dips. I mean, I kind of feel like we're still in a dip buy environment in a way. And we're going to add more data to that if Microsoft ends up reversing and maybe trending up. Because maybe this is just, you know, a short-term negative reaction. I'm going to look more into it as well. But a lot of their data was positive and green. They had a double beat. They beat EPS. They beat revenue. Their cloud storage revenue was nice and green across the board. And let me see here. This is some stuff from the Bloomberg terminal. Let's just take a quick look at this. So revenue, 77.6 billion, estimate was 75.5. So we had already went over that, but the intelligent cloud revenue, 30.9 billion. The estimate was 30.18 billion. So they beat that. Then of course the cloud services revenue and Azure, they own Azure. And personal computing revenue was a beat. This is straight from the Bloomberg terminal here. Operating income beat expectations. Capital expenditure was down. Revenue at constant currency plus 17%. So, you know, I think personally this dip on Microsoft is going to be short-lived. And we got the remainder of post-market price action and, of course, pre-market data to prove that, basically, if that's going to happen or not. So keep your eyes on that. Google still holding up with a nice and positive reaction. Microsoft has retraced up a little bit, okay? It's at least got out of dead cat bounce territory. That's where we want to see it break the 25% retrace, and it's done that. That's around 520 a share. So my support level number one for after hours price action is 520. And we don't want to see Microsoft going back below there, because obviously it's probably going to be like a magnet to after hours low, which puts it around 513 a share. So 520 support one on Microsoft. This is just shorter term looking after hours price action. 513 would be S2. And then you can clearly spot these resistance levels. I just usually go off the fib, nice and easy mathematical levels to look at for retracement. But resistance number one, I'm going to put it at this golden fib. It's the 61% retrace. That's a little under 531 a share. You could probably call that a $1 range, like 530 to 531. So that's, I would love to see Microsoft reclaim that level. And then, hey, my confidence on this actually retracing back to baseline from where it closed the regular session is going to go up quite a bit if it can take out that golden fib on the way back up. So we'll see what happens. Google, again, nice and positive reaction. Let me put Google's EPS and revenue back on the screen. And they're holding up here. They're up almost 6%, 5.75%. They're up almost $16 a share. Okay, so it's looking like a congrats to the Google bulls. They also had a double beat. They also beat a lot of the estimates for a lot of their revenue sources. It's looking really good for Google right now. And let me just let's find out. Let me go over to Meta, and then we're going to find out when the earnings web call is for these companies. They all, I don't know if they're all going to be at the same time. They might be. I don't know if they kind of ladder those or not, but we're definitely going to find out. Let me go. I guess I'll pull Webull up, and here's, yeah, the Meta's the other one. So Meta's got a negative reaction. Just kind of cross-checking the price of SPY and Triple Q. And I think because we kind of got a mixed bag of reactions where Meta's a negative reaction. However, Google has a positive reaction. Microsoft also has a negative reaction. So it's kind of a mixed bag with these big companies as far as positive and negative reactions. I think that's why SPY and the Triple Qs aren't really taking that big of a hit. Maybe being propped up by Google a little bit with Google's positive reaction. So let's go to Meta, because I want to get their EPS and revenue for everyone. I don't think I shared that yet. We shared Microsoft, and I have Google on the bottom of my screen. But let's see what's going on with Meta, because investors are not liking their earnings data. They're actually down quite a bit. They're down over $60 a share, folks, after basically being flat on the day. Let's take a look. All right, I think I would know part of the reason of the negative reaction. I got this info from my buddy Shy Balor on X. If you haven't followed him, go follow him. He's just an amazing investor. I've had a chance to have dinner with him. I met him in Delray Beach. And we've hung out a little bit, but Shy Balor, anyways, he's a great investor, good one to follow. So Meta, the sales came in at 51.2 billion. The estimate was 49.4 billion, so they did beat sales revenue. EPS, oh, is that what happened? EPS came in at $1.05. Is that a typo? I got to confirm that, because the estimate for their EPS was $6.67. If they reported $1.05, that's why they're taking this hit. And Mickey on YouTube for Meta, it's mostly the CapEx. Okay, that makes sense. So capital expenditures and the one-time cost for the big, beautiful bill. Yeah, I was just reading that Mickey Beavison, hopefully I pronounced that right on YouTube, Appreciate the engagement there, but you're spot on. I'm reading right as you wrote that. I read, okay, so they took a one-time 15.9 billion non-cash tax charge, which means EPS would have been 7.25. So without that one-time cash tax charge, which was almost $16 billion, their EPS would have been 7.25. But with that charge, that hit they took, EPS only $1.05 from a 6.67 estimate. I think we pretty much found out why Meta took a hit, right? Investors did not like that piece of data, and so they missed EPS, but they beat revenue. Someone's calling me on my cell phone. Let me just mute them, and I'll call them back later. So let me post this metadata. But wow, they got really hit hard on that EPS and that one-time tax charge. Crazy. I haven't seen something like that in a while. I mean, that affected them greatly. That's why they're down. They're down $63 a share. You know, the silver lining is that one-time tax charge. It is a one-time tax charge, right? So it's not going to be like a recurring hit they're taking. So you kind of rip the Band-Aid off, get it out of the way. I think the Meta pullback will be short-lived as well. And that's the good thing about these bigger companies, you know, Microsoft, Google, Meta. These pullbacks are normally short-lived. Not financial advice, just, you know, from the years and years I've been trading, that's usually what happens. They're short-lived. Sometimes it takes maybe an additional earnings catalyst to kind of pull them out of a downtrend sometimes, but normally it's a quick bounce back on these things. Absolutely, Mickey Beaverson on YouTube. Absolutely, Meta would be a buy. I think any of these companies would be a buy, especially if you're going to DCA in over time. You know, just do a little bit every month and just keep it consistent over the long run. You can't lose with the blue chips. All right. You're going to be just fine. And people that were already invested in these companies, and let's take Meta, for example. They're taking a $62 per share hit right now in after hours. Listen, if you're in for the long run, like my buddy Mickey says on YouTube, it's going to be okay. All right. Seeing drawdown and pullbacks is all part of the game. It's all natural. It happens. But companies like these that are just monster revenue companies in the billions and billions and billions of dollars, these pullbacks are usually short-lived. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. Don't let it ruffle your feathers too much. You're going to be fine. And just like my buddy Mickey says, if you're in for the long haul, this absolutely could be a really good discount based on where it closed the regular session today. Just under $752 a share. Now it's trading in the 680s. This would definitely be a discount on the stock, I think. But again, so that's the problem that Meta is dealing with right now. It's a $15.9 billion. That's a billion one-time expense. Without that, they would have crushed earnings and probably would have had a positive reaction. So at least we know what the deal is with that. Again, I think the dip will be short-lived. Let's see here. All right, it's almost 4:30. Let's find out when these companies are actually doing the earnings web call. See if I can save y'all some time from getting the links and all that stuff. I'll just figure it out for you right now. Let's do Google first. Let's see. I'll get the link for everyone. We'll find out when Alphabet's going to do their actual earnings web call. All right, let's take a look here. So I'm just going straight to their investor relations page. I'll leave Google price on the left while I got their investor page here. And the link to get there is super easy, kind of funny too. Obviously, the company name is Alphabet. So the link to their investor relations page is abc.xyz/investor. I think that's so funny. So anyways, that's how you get to their investor relations page. I put the link on the bottom of my screen. I'll leave it up there for a little bit, let everyone have a chance to screenshot that or type it into their browser on a different screen or something. If you want to dig deeper into their earnings data, you just go to that link I just gave you. And right here, October 29th, go to the news section. You can click on that. And then there's a PDF document you can download right here. I'm just curious how many pages it is. Okay, it's 11 pages, so not too bad. So you go there, download that PDF. It's 11 pages, and you can definitely take a deep dive into all kinds of other stuff. There's even a little commentary from their CEO and CFO in here, and you can dig deeper into the cloud revenue, how much they increased year over year, what that was, and the other sources of revenue, like cloud services revenue. And so, it just gives you a nice deep dive into their earnings data that you can easily get yourself. So I'm not going to go through all this. We already went over most of it. Let me just go back a page here, and let's see what time their webcast is. All right. Looks like it's right here, right at the top. So they announced their third quarter financial results conference call. Let's go ahead and click on that. And it's at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, which means I always go by Eastern. I'm over here in Florida, but so that's 5:30 p.m. Eastern is when Google is going to do their earnings web call. So you got about an hour before that's going down. Okay, so now that we found out when and where Google's earnings web call is, let's check the other ones and find out when theirs are going to be. Hopefully they laddered it, because I could see investors wanting to attend all three of these web calls, but you never know. Sometimes they do them at the same time. Let me just pull this up here for Microsoft. I got Microsoft on the right. It's funny how accurately these fibs line up sometimes, but look at the level it just tested, this 61% retrace. That's what we call the golden ratio. Important level for retracements, I think. And it had trouble dealing with that level, got rejected. So now it's coming back down. Again, I'm sticking with my same support levels for post-market price action on Microsoft. Support level number 1, I'm putting that at 520 a share. Support level number 2, 513 a share. Would love to see those levels hold for the bulls specifically. Take a little sip of water real quick, and let's move on to Microsoft earnings web call and when that's going to be and how to get there. Let me just move this out a little bit. Let's do this. Okay, this is fine. So here's their, this is Q1 fiscal year 2026. View details. All right, so here's the press release for Microsoft. Let me back up one page and get that link. So this is how you're going to get to Microsoft's web call, and also how to get to the document or the press release, which will give you a much bigger deep dive into their earnings results. So I'm going to put that link up now. This is for Microsoft. And let me just go ahead and click on this. And a few commentary here from the CEO and the CFO. Let's just read a couple statements here. So we get a couple statements before they actually do the web call. So it's interesting to read those. So this is regarding Microsoft, our planet scale cloud and AI factory, together with co-pilots. Everyone's noticed the co-pilots, right? Sometimes those are annoying. I try and hide it until I'm done. But together with co-pilots across high-value domains, it's driving broad diffusion and real-world impact. That was said by Satya Nadella, the chairman and CEO. It's why we continue to increase our investments in AI across both capital and talent to meet massive opportunity ahead. Okay, I feel like we already went over that. So anyways, you can take a deeper dive for yourself. Microsoft 365 revenue up 17%. Almost everyone I know has a Microsoft 365 account, at least most of the business owners I know and stuff like that. So big revenue stream for them. LinkedIn, and for those that don't know, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. That revenue was up 10%. Dynamics 365 revenue also up. So you can see there's a lot of growth here, but we're also seeing some selling on Microsoft. So Xbox content and services revenue increased 1%. Not really much there. Business outlook, Microsoft will provide forward-looking guidance in connection with this quarterly earnings announcement on its earnings conference call. Okay, this tells me there's probably going to be a secondary move on Microsoft because they withheld the guidance on the actual data drop, but they're not withholding guidance. They're going to go over it on the earnings web call. All right, so that's very important. That's also an indicator that this little selling candle is probably going to be short-lived if they talk about the guidance in a positive way during that web call. So just something to keep in mind. And let me go back a page and let's actually find out what time the conference call is. And let's take a look here. Let me just blow this up for a second. And events. It's got to be all events here. Oh, Microsoft's website glitching out a little bit. That's funny. That's funny, actually. Upcoming events here. All right, let me just go here. Q1 earnings. Probably going to be at the, oh, they got a lot of documents you can download here on the right as well. So this is the press release and the webcast. So let me just scroll down. Webcast details. Here it is here. So Microsoft is also doing their web call at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So kind of what I thought. Unfortunately, Google and Microsoft are both doing their web call at the same exact time. Of course, it's going to be recorded, so you can watch one now and the other later, you know, when the web calls actually start. But anyways, yeah, that's starts at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So again, we got almost an hour before they report. So that's the link on the bottom of my screen. That's how you're going to get to their earnings web call. Now let's find out when Meta's web call is. And matter of fact, let me go back to Meta's candlesticks here and see if they started recovering. All right, they're still trying to bottom out. I could probably draw a fib on this just to see if they're getting close to clearing that 25% or not. Let me turn this magnet on here. Okay, so yeah, they haven't retraced 25% yet, so they're not out of the woods yet. 25% puts it right around $700 a share. Maybe like 700 to 701, kind of like a little $1 range there. They've got to reclaim that level and clear that, or this, you know, it's probably going to make a new after hours low if it can't get at least a 25% retrace. So resistance number one on Meta, 700 to 701, around there. Resistance number two, kind of a steep pop from where resistance one is, but resistance number two, it's that golden fib again, around 728 a share. So we'll see, but they got to get back over 700 for me to even have faith that this is going to retrace back up. But nonetheless, what we were talking about earlier, the problem with Meta is the huge EPS miss, which was directly related to the $15.9 billion one-time charge that they got. You know, so that's what Meta's dealing with. Again, I think it's going to be short-lived. Will it retrace back up in post-market? That's up for debate. It's kind of struggling down here still below 700. So, you know, for me, just going to have to wait for the earnings web call to see if the upper management sheds some brighter light on maybe some more positive guidance to kind of take the tension away from that almost $16 billion one-time charge they had. So again, Microsoft and Google, their earnings web calls at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Meta's web call, let me see if I can get that for everyone. Did I already pull that over? No, not yet. So let me find out when Meta. That'd be funny if all three are doing their web calls at the same time. Well, I'll find out though right now. I'll keep interesting. You know, with Meta being down, we got Microsoft is down. Microsoft is actually making a solid attempt at retracing, so I got some hopes for that one. Got a little bit of confidence on that one that may go ahead and retrace back up, especially after they do their earnings web call. And again, Microsoft was the one that was going to talk more about the guidance during the web call. So I think Microsoft definitely could have a secondary move as they talk more about the guidance. Google is the golden egg here with the positive reaction, up 13 bucks a share for Google, almost up 5%. It is holding its gains. It's kind of taking a little bit of a breather right now. But let me go back to Meta. Let's find out when they're going to do their earnings web call. So Meta's got it laid out pretty nicely for us. Meta's web call, it looks like it's going on right now. 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, which would be 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So Meta's web call is actually going on right now. So let me post this link for everyone. So if ever anyone, of course, I love everyone joining my stream. There's over 600 people here, but if you want to jump over to Meta's earnings web call, boom, that's the link right there. So I don't mind if you want to, that's obviously their earnings web calls are pretty important. So, and then of course, same thing here with Meta. You can click on the press release, and then they'll have probably a PDF presentation you can download to take a deeper dive into their earnings data. So yeah, it looks like we got everything we need for the earnings web call for Meta, Microsoft, and Google. SPY's holding up fairly well, I have to say. QQQ is holding up as well. So it looks like the indexes aren't really getting affected much by these earnings, but it's looking like I'm thinking if Google holds its gains, and maybe makes another leg up or something, Microsoft is making a solid attempt at retracing. And if Meta, if there's some dip buyers on Meta, maybe going into pre-market tomorrow or something, I think the indexers are going to be affected positively by these reactions. And I mean, just looking at it right now in after hours, they're holding up really nicely. They might even flip green, if with the other things I was discussing about possibly Meta, maybe finally finding a bottom and retracing. It's testing 25% retrace right now. So it's testing that $700 level we were looking at right now. Okay. So let's see. There might be something going on with this. Something's brewing with Meta. It did come all the way down to like a little over 682 a share after closing the regular session at 751 and some change. I mean, that's a solid dip buy if you ask me. So investors may take this as a discount and maybe start piling into the trade or adding to their positions. We'll see. Yeah, it's about 4:45 p.m. Eastern. We've got our reactions. Meta's making an attempt to prevent a dead cat bounce here. If it can clear 700, I think we'll be fine for the bulls. And Google holding its positive reaction very nicely. Microsoft making a solid attempt at retracing back to baseline. So I don't think it's bad at all, even though Microsoft did have an initial negative reaction. But my confidence is going up minute by minute with this thing. It's taking out some of these retrace levels, no problem. And it's even retraced the golden fib. So now it's back above 530. To be honest with you, not trading much lower from where it closed the regular session. And again, per the horse's mouth from Microsoft, they said they're going to talk about their earnings guidance. They're going to talk about their guidance in much more detail when they do the earnings call at 5:30. So this may be a situation where Microsoft just decides to start trending up when that conference call starts and they start talking about that. So I'm liking it. But yeah, good turnout today. I had a lot of fun. It's been about 45 minutes. And if anyone, I'm just checking the Discord and making sure I didn't miss anyone in the Discord. TK says, look at GH earnings. What's going on with GH? Let's take a look. Guardian Health. Okay. Yeah, they had a nice and positive reaction as well. They're up over 12%, almost $9 a share in the positive. In after hours. So investors obviously reacted positively to their earnings data. So yeah, also looking like a congrats to the Guardian, the Garden. I think I was pronouncing that wrong. The Garden Health Bulls. You know, if you did any sort of earnings lotto trade, you should be sitting good, and existing holders, you should be up nicely tomorrow morning when the regular session opens. So yeah, congrats to the GH Bulls. Appreciate you pointing that out, TK. But yeah, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. My bread and butter type of trading is writing contracts. That's what I do. That's been the most consistent strategy for me over the many years I've been trading, and the most profitable. Slow and steady. We were talking about that earlier in one of our streams. You know, slow and steady and consistent is going to outperform, you know, those types of strategies, which is what we get when we write contracts, and you know what you're doing when you're writing contracts. That's going to outperform any other strategy by far, in my opinion. You know, the home runs will come naturally if you can just focus on, how do I not lose money? Once you can get good at not losing money, the wins naturally come. You'll be just fine. But that's basically what I teach in the Discord. I'm one of the coaches over there. I mainly do, I like to call it advanced options strategy, because most of my trades are, I'm usually on the selling side of the opening transaction. That's where I prefer to be. I basically sell speculation instead of buy speculation. And that's why I've been able to remain consistent over the years. Is I'd rather sell speculation than buy it, right? I do keep a small amount of capital for speculative type trades, but the bulk of my capital goes into writing contracts. Okay, I'm like a little mini market maker, providing liquidity to the options chain, and that's what I teach in the Discord. And let me just check how many members are in my coaching group. Yeah, I'm over 100 members now. I got 101 people in my coaching group. And we've been making money all year and just having a blast. So if you're interested in joining the coaching, there's some links in the description. You can dive right in head first, and I'm here to catch you. And, you know, I basically target weekly and monthly income. Okay. And I also started a small account challenge just to prove you don't need a lot of capital to write contracts. It's a $2,500 account challenge, and it's been going very, very well. And started that about 2 months ago. And the last update I posted, we're up about 12% on the account in just 2 months. So the goal is to beat the S&P annual average by 3x or more. So we're well on our way to doing that. But yeah, if you've ever been interested in writing contracts or anything like that, I'm definitely your guy. Join the Discord. You can even join the free Discord and just see how you like that and go from there. But yeah, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. I hope everyone enjoyed the content. I hope everyone has a great night. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the very next stream. Cheers.